About a year ago, I reviewed the Google Pixel 6 Pro, and quite frankly, my experience with that phone wasn't the greatest to begin with. I encountered a lot of bugs, which was just really frustrating, so I ended up switching to an iPhone. But you know what? It was Google's first smartphone with their custom Tensor chip, and they needed time to optimize and fix all the issues, and I think a lot of those have been addressed with the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro. In fact, I'm gonna go on record and say that Google really outdid themselves this year with the 7 series. Now I'm gonna focus this video on the smaller Pixel 7 because for $600, there's just a lot of value packed into the smartphone. Now I've been playing around with this thing for the past 4 months and my experience so far has been great. Honestly, using the Pixel 7 day in and day out alongside my iPhone 14 Pro made me realize how much I missed Android. I still consider the software experience on Pixel phones to be the best. It's a clean and uncluttered interface. Essentially, you're getting the purest form of Android designed by Google, and you're the first in line to receive updates directly from them, unlike Samsung or OnePlus or any other Android smartphone manufacturer. It also comes with some really useful features that I'm sure you'll appreciate, like Now Playing, for instance, that identifies the music in the background and displays the name of the song and the artist on the lock screen. Super useful when you're in a public space where you just want to know what that song is. You get a little notification on the top right-hand corner if an app is accessing the camera. I like the visual awareness. If you're using RCS chat, you can view a short transcript of any audio message that you receive, and it's pretty accurate. I was genuinely surprised by this feature, guys. Assisted voice typing has gotten faster with the new Tensor G2 chip, and it now has automatic emoji suggestions. The photo unblur feature uses machine learning to analyze photos taken on any smartphone that may look blurry and convert it to a somewhat usable image. Now, it won't work with super blurry photos, but it is there at your disposal when you need it. The voice recorder app can now automatically add voice labels when it detects different speakers, and it's really accurate with the transcripts. You also get free VPN through Google One that hides your IP address, and it can simply be enabled through a quick toggle. Clear calling now uses machine learning to reduce the background noise when you're on a phone call. Android 13 in general gives you some tasteful customization options, especially with Material You. You get to choose the color palette based on your wallpaper of your choice. But I've got some concerns. So first of all, I don't understand why themed icon setting is still in beta mode. I mean, if Google can't match the system theme throughout every icons that you may have installed, they might as well just remove this feature in the first place. I also feel like the quick settings toggle could be toned down a little bit. Personally, I just think it takes up way too much space. They could just give us symbols, just like what Android 11 looked like. The camera app interface is super straightforward. All the settings and modes are right there at your fingertips. I would say it's second close to what you get on an iPhone. Speaking of cameras, the Pixel 7 keeps delivering the best photos that I've taken on a smartphone. Now for starters, this phone is rocking a dual camera system. So you get a 12 megapixel ultra-wide sensor and a 50 megapixel standard wide sensor. The ultra-wide has a wider field of view, as usual, to fit as much subjects in the frame, and the dynamic range is excellent. And when you pair that with OIS and Google's mind-blowing computational photography, images are well detailed. The white balance tends to shift a bit towards the cooler side, but that has been one of the characteristics of a Pixel smartphone, which can easily be adjusted in post. Low light performance is just as impressive as last year's Pixel 6 series. Now, the main 50 megapixel sensor produces some of the cleanest, well-exposed and detailed images, guys. Google did tone down the over-sharpening and intense HDR processing from the Pixel 6 series, and part of that is thanks to the new machine learning algorithm built into the new Tensor G2 chip. It's just noticeably faster when it comes to processing photos compared to the Pixel 6 Pro. Now by default, this sensor does bin images to 12 megapixels to save on file size, as well as help clean up noise in low light environments. And while you can shoot in RAW, Google doesn't allow you to take that full 50 megapixel shot, which I think is perfectly fine because for most people, they just want a camera that takes great photos out of the box without having to edit them in post. And this phone just delivers that. Everything from the dynamic range to the depth you get with this massive sensor is just awesome. I actually prefer taking photos on the Pixel 7 over my iPhone 14 Pro because for my tests, HDR processing is much better. It preserves the highlights, whereas the iPhone just blows them out. Remember guys, this is a $600 phone versus a $1,000 phone. That being said, my biggest gripe with the Pixel 7 is the shutter lag for faster moving subjects because this camera relies heavily on software processing, which takes a few seconds. So when you go to town with that shutter button, it just falls behind the iPhone, especially in low light. And the end result is just a blurry, unusable image. And yes, for those of you wondering, Google's photo unblur feature doesn't really do any justice here. Pretty ironic, right? Now, through software, you can optically zoom in on that main sensor by 2x, which emulates the feeling of using a telephoto lens, and I believe this is where having a master sensor comes at an advantage because you can crop in and still preserve details. You can get away with some cool compositions, and if you know me, I just love shooting photos with this type of compression. Portrait mode is still there at your disposal when you need it, although I do prefer the natural depth from shooting in standard mode. The selfie camera is great, you get a 10 megapixel sensor and it does a really good job capturing my skin tones accurately, plus you can shoot at a wider field of view, which I'm sure will come in clutch for those group selfies. So we're expecting about 30 centimeters of snow today. I've got to get to the office to finish up some work, but yeah, this is what the video quality looks like on the Pixel 7. I am shooting in 4K 10-bit with all the super steady stabilization turned on. So let's just go out for a quick walk and test out the dynamic range and all that stuff. So this is what the front-facing camera looks like on the Pixel 7. By default, it does shoot at 1080p, so you have to go manually into the settings and switch to 4K. Also, a lot of the settings are just basically disabled by Google. I don't know why. For instance, if you want to enable super steady stabilization, you got to do that manually. If you want to enable 10-bit HDR video recording, which now the Tensor G2 chip can process, you got to do that manually as well. So yeah, little things to keep note of, but overall I'm actually really impressed with the quality coming out of the Pixel 7. I mean, you know, I could easily use this alongside my iPhone when I'm shooting backup B-roll or anything like that for products and stuff like that. So yeah, dynamic range is really good. My skin tones are nicely exposed. It's really great, guys. I'm impressed with the stabilization. You don't get fancy 8K shooting capabilities, which is perfectly fine because honestly, for capturing content for social media and stuff like that, this phone is more than enough. It'll get the job done. By the way, I also want to mention that speech enhancement is a new feature that has been added to the Pixel 7, and it sounds really good. I was pretty shocked to hear the microphone quality as well. So yeah, overall, I think they've really nailed the video quality on the Pixel 7. So let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. There's just a bus that just took off. So yeah, before it starts snowing crazy, I gotta go back to the office and wrap up this video. But first, a quick word from this video sponsor. Be ready to be captivated by a fusion of vivid colors, deeper blacks, and a wicked fast 240Hz refresh rate with Corsair's Xeneon Flex gaming monitor. Featuring the world's first bendable OLED display in a stunning 45-inch WQHD ultrawide aspect ratio, immerse yourself in gaming and other productive tasks. You get all the extra goodies for ultimate speed and precision within a game, get quick access to a few USB ports at the front and plenty of other display connectivity options at the back, and all this tech is backed with their advanced burn-in protection and a 3-year warranty. If you're looking to flex your gaming setup, look no further than Corsair's Xeneon Flex. Learn more down below. Alright, let's talk hardware. And quite frankly, there's not a whole lot of new features that Google has added to the Pixel 7 compared to the Pixel 6. What you're getting here is Gorilla Glass Victus at the front and the back that's sandwiched in an aluminum frame for better durability. And it feels great in the hand, except for the slippery surface at the back, which I'm sure a case can take care of. I love the fact that it comes with a flat display, unlike the curved option you get on the 7 Pro. It makes handling so much better. It's slightly bigger than my iPhone 14 Pro, but I had no issues using it comfortably with one hand. The build quality is excellent, the buttons feel nice and tactile with no signs of rattling. The aluminum edges beautifully wrap around this massive camera bump at the back, and I think there's a good sense of continuity with this year's Pixel 7 series versus the Pixel 6 in the design department. My unit comes in this vibrant lemongrass color, but if you're looking for something subtle, you can pick it up in either snow white or obsidian black. The speakers sound great with the earpiece at the top and bottom-facing drivers to get that stereo effect. The trebles are still rich, but it still lacks a bit of bass, just like the Pixel 6 Pro did. Call quality is also good, and the haptic motor inside has improved slightly. Shifting gears to the display, there's not a whole lot to talk about here either. It's essentially a copy and paste setup from the Pixel 6 with the AMOLED 90Hz refresh rate. The only exception is the peak brightness level has increased up to 1000 nits, resulting in better outdoor visibility. But other than that, content looks vivid and sharp with those punchy blacks that we all love. I did wish if it had a 120Hz LTPO display, because switching back and forth between my iPhone 14 Pro, I was instantly able to tell difference in terms of motion smoothness scrolling through Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and other applications that I use on a daily basis. Now, full disclosure, this is coming from someone who has gotten used to higher refresher displays on laptops and smartphones. But for the average user, this thing gets a job done, and for the price, I really can't complain about the way how it looks, guys. You also get the built-in fingerprint sensor, which from my usage has been pretty accurate. And as a backup, you can also set up face unlock, which is a welcoming addition this year, and it works like a charm. So about the new Tensor G2 SoC. It's Google's second generation custom chip that powers both the Pixel 7 and the Pixel 7 Pro. It's essentially the same formula as Google's original Tensor SoC, but they've upgraded the GPU, the TPU, as well as the modem inside for better stability. And you know what, guys? It's a noticeable improvement compared to my Pixel 6 Pro. I've had no issues with network coverage. The performance was rock solid during my usage. I didn't have to break my head trying to make a phone call without having it hang up on me randomly. Believe it or not, it was one of the most frustrating things about the Pixel 6 Pro, which made me switch to an iPhone in the first place. You see, the G2 isn't meant to compete with the likes of Qualcomm's latest and greatest SoC. But rather the focus for Google was to improve the little things like faster processing with machine learning, being able to support 10-bit HDR video recordings. And on top of all of that, you get some really good power efficiency gains because battery life on the Pixel 7 has been great. Now, while it does boast a slightly smaller battery size compared to the Pixel 6, I was able to squeeze almost 2 days worth of use on this phone. Now, I'm not a heavy smartphone user because I spend most of my day on a desktop. Plus, I've enabled dark mode, so those are contributing factors. But if I recall, my average screen on time on the Pixel 6 Pro was around 5.5 to 6 hours. So getting that kind of SOT on the Pixel 7 with a smaller battery just goes to show the improvement Tensor G2 brings to the table. Now, this phone supports both wired and wireless charging. I believe both of those support up to 20 watts, with wireless charging being exclusively fast on Google's own Pixel stand. This is just basically Google's way of saying, we're building out an ecosystem, so feel free to spend a little bit more money to see the benefits. You see, Google is primarily a software-driven company. The Pixel lineup, in my opinion, is just an extension of what software can do when you introduce some cool hardware into the equation, like the new Tensor G2 chip and the improved camera sensors. The Pixel 7 isn't meant to be a flagship smartphone, but I think it delivers beyond that for just $600. I've actually seen it go on sale for as low as $500, which makes it one of the best bang for the buck smartphones that you can buy right now. So if you're rocking a Pixel 7 or Pixel 7 Pro, what has been your experience like? I'd really like to know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm Ibra with Hardware Canucks. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.